So tell me what's happened in 2 years, and that's a nice capital raise. What are you going to do with the money?
We're going to do a lot with the money. It's a nice capital raise. We've been busy over the course of the past 2 years. We're really trying to affect a lot of change across the restaurant community, and we're enabling this, what we call this new era of hospitality. So we're investing heavily in R&D.
So talk to me about the R&D. What specifically are you looking to do? Because you've got a platform already established, you've got a bunch of services.
Sure.
What else do you want to do with it?
Yeah, so we look at all of the stakeholders, we look at the guest, we look at the employee, and we look at the owner, manager, operator, and we're trying to affect change across that whole spectrum. So a good example is, how do you get orders into the restaurant?
Right.
So in today's consumer personalization and convenience environment, how does the restaurant get orders in? Whether it's a tool like Toast Takeout, which we piloted in Boston, which allows you to do mobile order ahead with your phone, or if it's kiosk, or if it's online ordering, or if it's a device called the Toast Go, which we released last year, that allows the wait staff to take orders at the table and turn tables faster.
And that's what it's all about, Chris, right? In other words, more customers in, more tables being turned means more revenue for the restaurant owner and more tips for the workers.
Yeah, so I'd say it's two things. It's all about more revenue in the door and then operational efficiency.
Well, listen, you were founded back in 2011, and I do wonder, nice capital raise, but where's it all going? So you've been around 8-9 years. You've got to be thinking, is this the time to take the company public?
Yeah, so this is a massive opportunity, and the restaurant community is a massive market. So we're
untapped market in your view?
Yeah, untapped, and we're in the early days of a major transformation across the entire industry. So for us, in many ways, we're still getting started because we're making massive investments in R&D across the whole spectrum.
So you don't feel the pressure to do that, to go public?
No
well,
pressure.
It's interesting. The reason I guess I ask is, you know, we've been focused on a couple of stories, Chris, this week. Obviously, U.S.-China trade, but more important and maybe pertinent to you as I think about some of the IPOs that have come to market.
Sure.
And these are companies, as you well know, that have been around for a decade, like Uber.
Yeah.
It didn't go so well. And I do wonder if you think about, you know, how long do we stay private before we go public?
Sure. So first and foremost, we're happy being private and putting investments to pilots and R&D and really breaking through to the future for the restaurant community. I've had a lot of friends who have gone public recently, and you know, we're in no rush. I think it's a milestone. We're after building long-term shareholder value.
Right.
So when we look at the opportunity for us, it's to build a pillar company in Boston for the restaurant community that builds long-term investor value.
As you said, it was a very untapped market in terms of the restaurant space. I know you guys don't like to give out numbers in terms of specific customers, but give me an idea of the growth rate in terms of bringing in new customers.
Yeah, we're growing north of 100% year over year. We've got
in terms of the customer base?
Yeah, in terms
revenues?
of the customer base, both.
Yeah. Wow.
But then we've got over 1,500 employees. I think since we last met, we've probably added 1,000 employees in the past couple of years.
Right.
And
not just in the U.S. You guys are in Dublin. You're elsewhere.
So we have an engineering center in Dublin, but we're still U.S. based in terms of the restaurants that we serve. So we serve restaurants across the U.S., whether it's an enterprise like Jamba Juice or nationally acclaimed restaurant operators like Danny Meyer and Jose Andres. So we're all over the U.S. in 30 markets, and but it's still the early days.
Well, and I do wonder, okay, going public aside, what about other partnerships? I know you've been working with U.S. Foods, and I do wonder what other avenues, because that's more food distribution.
Sure.
So where else can you go, or where else do you hope to go?
So we look at the entire restaurant value chain, and we're trying to make their lives better. It's hard to run a restaurant. So this week, on Tuesday, we announced Toast Payroll and Team Management, because a lot of restaurant operators are spending hours doing payroll every Friday. And if we can give them their Fridays back and streamline payroll so that they can get hours back on efficiency to spend more time with guests, that's what we're doing. So we launched that this week, which is an exciting new venture for us. And we're going to continue to innovate across the entire restaurant value chain.
So back office, front office, whatever it is.
Front office, back office, supply chain, whatever it is.
So I do wonder, and I'm sure you've done this, I Googled Toast, and it's like competitors, and there's a lot out there, and there's a lot even in the Boston area. I mean, there's something about the Boston city, the tech scene, the innovation scene, the restaurant space, that there's a lot happening here. So how do you see the competition? Is it folks that you might ultimately partner up with? Or, I don't know, how do you see it?
I mean, there's areas where we build, there's areas where we partner, and I think it's a space that's dynamically changing.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, we want to help transform the community and move the community forward, and the Boston market's tremendous. It's sort of two sides of the market. You've got this amazing supply chain of talent with MIT, BU, UMass, Harvard, plenty of talent. And then you've got, on the other side of the market, these companies that are transforming industries like Wayfair, Car Gurus, HubSpot, Toast. So it's an amazing market for us to thrive in.
Right.
And then it's an awesome restaurant community.
So you mentioned about what a great city to be in terms of tapping into talent. What about in terms of what you guys are doing? What does it mean in terms of replacing workers? Or how do you see that working?
Yeah, no, it's interesting. We feel like we're enabling the community to thrive, and a lot of the restaurants that are running Toast are adding workforce because we're making their jobs easier. They could spend more time with guests, more time cooking, more time managing the operations. So we see a lot of restaurants that are thriving and adding labor, and we're trying to make it easier for them.
Just 10 seconds, international expansion, that's in the works too?
At some point, but not anytime soon, but at some point.